Issa. Okay, Issa?
Yes.
Asa Galloway.
Issa Galloway defines the mission.
Kind of a show that will put people on the edge of their seat.
Because it leads to the future with a more sophisticated approach.
P-A-I-J. Thank Allah it is Juma. It's a special Juma because I turned 50 today. And I thought, how do I revive my midlife crisis project, this podcast, in the most old man way possible? You know, the kind of get off my lawn type of thing. You know, that's the vibe I'm going for. And don't worry, though, I've got it still focused on our liberty, our identity, and civics. Today, we're going to talk about self-responsibility. And what inspired me to talk about this today is I just left the masjid, the mosque, and, you know, there was announcements at the end of prayer. The some brother had parked in a way that kept sisters for the entire sermon unable to leave. You know, just little things like that where you're not paying attention, you're not being considerate of other people. And I think this is a huge problem because when society gets to that point, we accept things that we normally wouldn't accept. So I want to jump into something that I've noticed. I think you might have noticed too, if you're paying attention to political blogs. Conservatives really fetishize Japanese society. And it's an interesting thing because they're looking at actually how considerate Japanese people are. I haven't been there, so this is all by reputation. But let's get into a video that shows that and then contrast it with things that are becoming the new norm in the United States, things that I think are very undesirable. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I love it when you're passionate about these things. You're 100% wrong about European coffee, but you are right about Japan in terms if you want that like strict culture, and you want rules and everybody follows the rules. I get that. Yeah. I like third world loosey-goosey.
I get it. Look, it would never work here. I'm just saying I appreciate it when I'm there. And
so he doesn't say it directly, but the would never work here thing is basically kind of an homage to we don't have a monoculture, we're not monolithic, we're too diverse. And I think that's a canard. And there's a guy that I'm about to show that agrees with me, but let's let him finish this thought real quick.
When you're on the subway and you're rammed up against somebody and nobody's saying a fucking word, you can hear a pin drop. When people are polite to one another.
I don't like that.
I love when I
get on the subway,
I'm understanding how not Indian you are.
So let's get into the next video. This is a guy I highly recommend y'all follow his channel. I'll put the link in the description below. But he's family's from Japan. I think he was raised here, maybe born here, but he has a take on why conservatives are so into Japan, and I think it's illuminating. So let's get with this one and see what he has to say.
It's always funny to me when conservative types go on vacation in Japan. They always marvel at the cleanliness and order of Japanese culture, and they say, "Oh, why can't we have that in America?" They always point to Japan being ethnically homogenous, as if America was ever ethnically homogenous.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a future video, but he makes a strong point. I mean, 13 original colonies, right? They weren't one original colony, and they were all based on ethnic, religious, and different types of identities. So this is core to what this channel is all about. But I want him to go a little bit further before we break out and see something else that's pretty eye-opening.
But that aside, I mean, being homogenous doesn't necessarily lead to a good outcome. I mean, Honduras is homogenous. North Korea is homogenous. Do you want to live there?
Absolutely not. And here's another thing. I think that while he's accurate in saying that homogeny or having a monoculture or one ethnicity for, you know, like an ethnic state, obviously doesn't just mean that things are better. On the flip side, though, I think diversity also is just neutral. I think it can be a positive or a negative depending on how it's managed and how it's embraced. So more on that later, but I want him to finish this thought because I think it's so important.
Japan's social cohesion didn't spring up magically. It came through planning and infrastructure. Conservatives never point out Japan having universal health care and a progressive tax policy and, you know, investment in housing and transportation. I mean, if you build a society where people aren't constantly fighting over the basic necessities of life, they'll tend to get along a little better.
Yeah,
but conservatives
obvious, right?
don't want to do all that. They just want the outcome, which is why their solution is always repression. More police, ICE raids, send in the National Guard. As if adding more police to America will turn America into Japan.
Yeah, and this idea of make America great, I mean, we are headed towards a police state. It's crazy. I mean, the recent big, beautiful, ridiculous bill um, just gave immigration's customs and enforcement a larger budget than most countries have for their entire self-defense. So you just let that sink in for a second, that ICE is going to have a budget, larger than most countries have for their entire military spending. And we talk about militarized police. This is a great example. And it's literally targeting people on purpose. And it's not. I can hear the conservatives right now, like if you're illegal, you didn't commit a crime, you don't have to worry. We've had case after case after case of people who committed no crime. And then we even had Stephen Miller going off on ICE agents saying, stop following the criminals and start going to Home Depot or other places and just rounding up folks. And that's why you have all these carve outs. And that's creating the shift within the MAGA movement. Now, before I go too far down that rabbit hole, I wanted to let him finish this thought because he comes up at a really interesting and I think profound place.
As if we don't already have more police. Even a country like Singapore, despite its reputation, is not a police state. I mean, go to Singapore. There are more police in New York City than there are in Singapore, by far. That's because social cohesion does not come through force.
Now, that part I really agree with. I'm nodding along with him. I haven't been to Singapore. I can't verify these things independently, just kind of taking his word on that. I'm sure, if you guys are questioning it, Google is your friend and you can find that. But the point here that social cohesion doesn't come through force is actually one of the key concepts I want to take in this video. And also kind of thinking about, this idea of being forced to do something versus doing it because of self-responsibility.
It comes through collectivism. What's so funny, though, is that when conservatives go overseas, they always want to pick certain ideas from certain countries.
Now, he said it comes through collectivism. And what he means in my interpretation of that is that you have a responsibility to the other, kind of the libertarian motto of your rights end where they infringe upon mine. The porcupine libertarians, not the Gadsden flag, don't tread on me libertarians. And again, I have problems with the libertarian group that I'm actually going to expose on his rant here, because he's not a libertarian, but he kind of touches a nerve on similar thinking towards the end of it. But, collectivism and self-responsibility, I would argue, still goes down to individual responsibility towards the collective. So I think he's kind of painting a false canard here, but I do think that he makes a very strong point in the idea that societies have to provide a bare minimum, and that the less stressful it is, the less difficult it is, the more social safety nets and economic populism there exists, the easier it is for society to have a collective sense of self-responsibility to like the hikers thing. I'm in Colorado. Everywhere you go on campsites or in hikes is leave it better than you found it. And how can we get that leave it better than you found it mentality in everyday life, no matter what part of the United States you're in?
They want the social policy of China with the tax policy of the Cayman Islands.
Now, he says the social policy of China. I'm not sure about that either, but let's look at one thing that they definitely are trying to model. Elon Musk is trying to turn X. I can't believe I called it X. This is the first time I think ever. Trying to turn Twitter into this all-encompassing app, including payments, including social credit scores, which is very much like the system they have in China. So this idea of surveillance state is something that, again, the big, beautiful bill, the funding for Palantir, the combination of different databases coming under one combined database that Palantir uses AI to mine and then follow us all on, that is all very much like what China has set up.
Let's have Dubai, but with free speech and no foreign labor. They never realize why they can never find this in a single place, just because these are contradictory impulses. Order and freedom pull in different directions.
Now, again, I'm not sure I buy that. I do think that compulsion and freedom are pulling in different directions. But I think when you build a society that has a level of what I would call just or righteous patriotism, what America's best values should be, when people like Malcolm X or MLK or any of the other luminaries of the civil rights movement were calling on America to live up to its highest ideals to the best of its conscience. Those, I think, are again not in contradiction, but actually aspirational goals that we should be looking for. And again, it comes to treating people the way you want to be treated, the golden rule. And I'm not talking about this ridiculous platinum rule that far left liberals have been trying to push on us lately. This idea that you should treat people the way they want to be treated. The thing about that, and the reason that's such a problem, is treating people the way they want to be treated. It's a great goal in theory, but that assumes that every single person you meet, you know enough about to know how they want to be treated. You're making a lot of assumptions, and it's impractical, just like this idea of being pulled in two contradicting directions. It's something that you can't accomplish. That's why the golden rule is supreme. You treat people the way you would want to be treated. That's why, respect runs over tolerance. Respect is a much higher goal.
But the conservative vision of an ideal country is always this salad bar of, a little bit of China, a little bit of Saudi, Turkey, El Salvador. Whereas the left has a vision of, hey, let's be Norway. How about that?
The thing about that is the Nordic countries have some of the happiest, highest index from studies of social scientists consistently for decades. So while he's going to say here that, Norway is not perfect, but it really exists, that's what triggers me on the idea when I start talking about libertarians.
Big Norway with more money. Not a perfect solution, but here's the difference between these competing visions. Norway exists. It's a real place with a system that can be built upon. It's not some bullshit Frankenstein dream.
And see, that's where I have a problem, like with hardcore libertarians, in that it's kind of a thought experiment for everything they want to do. It doesn't actually exist, and then you don't actually govern. It's just this idea of less government equals better, with no real implication or policies to handle the real world. I mean, it's almost the same pipe dream of communism. In theory, it's a good thing to have all people treated equally, but in reality, people have different skill sets that are more or less valuable to society as a whole. So I don't think necessarily I agree with him on this idea of necessarily having a purely collective mindset. I think you can have an individualistic mindset with because you want to be a good person and you want to excel as a human being, and because you were raised right and you have values, you have a responsibility to the collective. Now, this might be for some of y'all, semantics, but the point I think is firm here. And let's see how this plays out in American life every day with something I found, guys. I hate to admit it, but I spent way too much time in the rabbit hole of what's called cart narcs. Now, I want you to see this video. It is hilarious.
That's not where the carts go. One last, give me the wave off. Nope. Hood magnet of shame.
Don't put nothing on my car.
That's a double negative, sir. I'm gonna put it on top, okay?
Do nothing on top of my car.
Yeah, you should say, please don't put anything, not...
No, you're acting rude. You put stuff in my car.
You're acting rude by leaving your card out.
Yes. No.
It's fine.
What do you know?
It's fine. We're
What
not
is that?
alone.
Now, sir, are you gonna take your card?
Do not put nothing on my car.
Again, you're using a double negative. You wanna say, don't put anything on my car.
I don't care. Stop trying to act educated.
I am trying to, I'm double educating you.
Do not touch my car.
First education.
Do not touch my car.
Proper English. I thank you for that. Now, second thing is, you take your card back.
Get the hell out of my face.
I'm not in your face. I'm over here. But now, sorry.
Don't touch my car.
Are you gonna take your? Are you gonna? Where's she going? Why are you having her leave you? You are a leader in your name. I'm reading the back of your shirt. If you want to be a leader, lead by example and put your cart back where it belongs.
So this is almost like it touches on so many pet peeves of mine, and I have been guilty of leaving my card out, so I'm the first one to admit it. But after I saw this rabbit hole of this guy's videos, yeah, I would be angry too if someone threw a magnet on top of my car. But in all honesty, a side of him kind of being super sarcastic and getting a rise out of people on purpose. His point is valid. The magnet that he throws, this is a link in the description below as well. It's a YouTube channel. They're all over social media. They're called Cart Narcs. And what they do is they try to get people to be responsible enough to, put their own carts back because of the damage it could cause, the inconvenience that leaving your carts out just at random in the parking lots do. And the hilarious thing here, the reason I chose this short was because his t-shirt was talking about being a leader. And then he just went straight into reaction mode. He couldn't think about his own actions or, responsibility to society. And, aren't leaders supposed to be caring about others? So let's get into another video that I think is going to flow from this. And it kind of gets back to the idea of collectivism. So let's go.
It really feels like more Americans than ever really want to visit Japan. Yep. More so than other Asian countries, and even more so than like most parts of Europe, outside of maybe Paris. I think this has more to do with America than it does Japan or Japanese culture specifically. Because I mean, if you really want Japanese food, most big cities have good ramen or sushi or something. And if you're into like anime, it's like you can stream that if you really want to find it. Maybe like, 30 years ago, there would have been some advantage to going to Japan physically to find manga or something. But these days, basically everything is available everywhere. I think this has more to do with America itself. Especially if you live in like a big city, there really is a sense that things are starting to fall apart, just on a basic level.
And conservatives use this all the time to, just attack and try to claim moral superiority over liberals. And the funny thing here is, and if you guys have followed this channel at all, I don't identify as a conservative or as a liberal. I don't I'm not a card-carrying Republican or a Democrat. And I flirted with libertarianism because I like the idea of civil liberty. So I would call myself a civil libertarian, but not a libertarian when it comes to overall governance, like Thomas Massey, say, or Rand Paul. Although I really do find, especially Thomas Massey, very principled, and I think he's a bit of a national treasure. But this idea of how the cities are just kind of falling apart, I hear that all the time from all over the nation of my friends that live everywhere. In fact, I have friends now that are, considering moving overseas just because of how bad things are getting. But he makes a really profound point here, so let's let him go.
Things are breaking down and nobody is really coming to fix it. And this isn't just, American politics or like, the infrastructure or something. This is just on a very basic civil level. Something is just not working anymore. I don't know if it was maybe the pandemic, but people are becoming more selfish, more self-centered. They're being more loud and annoying in public. And there's really nothing you can do to bring back decency and civility.
I'm not sure that's true. I think there's things you can do. I think that embracing traditional values, embracing your faith, embracing the best ideas of what it means to be American, and to revive, again, what I would call a sense of like righteous patriotism, this idea that we should be living up to our highest values rather than always putting our nation down for our failures and our shortcomings. I mean, I get it. With Orange Makeup Man, the buffoon in the White House, embarrassing us constantly, flip-flopping, betraying every promise he made to his base and then them sticking with him no matter what, even as he loots their Medicaid and, makes their lives a living hell. It's so easy just to be like, yeah, we are terrible. But the thing is, we are Americans. We're here. Where are we going to go? I mean, if you hate the country, you should leave. If not, you should be your best self and roll up your sleeves and make things better. So I'm not sure I buy into this "there's nothing you can do" mentality.
There's not more laws you can pass or, messages you can spread. It's just something that people either have or they don't.
Now, that part I do agree with slightly. You can't force it on people through legislation and laws. I mean, you can try, but we all know the whole thing of like no cop around, no radar popping off in your car, you're speeding. And then you slow down when, Google Maps tells you there's police up ahead. People do that all the time. But This is why I did the comparison to Japan and how so many people are kind of fetishizing Japanese culture because, you know, they're incredibly polite. And he'll go on later in the video to talk about it being almost to an extreme. And in a different video, he talks about that's why his family migrated to the United States, because the difference between kind of extreme collectivism and extreme individualism. Now, again, I've already spoke a little bit about how I think that can be a false dichotomy. But let's get back to this idea of self-entitlement and not caring about the collective and being kind of a rotten person, so much so that you could care less about inconveniencing others.
Sorry, ma'am. Cart narcs here. Cart narcs. It's not where the cart goes. That's it's blocking the handicap access way. Cart corral's right there. See where that guy is?
Yeah.
Why aren't you taking it back?
I'm in the handicap spot. Sorry.
It's unbelievable how close the cart return was to this person. And hear her out. This is incredible.
But then the next person who's here, if they had a chair or something, they couldn't get out.
Okay, I'll remember that. Sorry.
Well, you can do it right now. You don't have to remember it.
Sir, I have cancer. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am, but
I'm sorry.
the next person could have cancer too.
Okay.
I have a bumper sticker for you.
Okay, keep it. I don't need it.
Oh, sir, yes, you do, because you just left your cart in the middle of the spot. Here, I'll put that right there for you.
Hey, you know what? You playing fucking games? I don't need that.
Well, I have more. I've got another one here if you like it.
Give me more.
Well, no, I think you're going to throw it away if you do it.
Well, I don't want the motherfucker on my thing, okay? So get the fuck away.
But you deserve it because you left your cart.
You know, you're asking for a bunch of shit.
What are you talking about? Man, this is my job as a cart narc to make people understand.
You know what?
What?
This asshole here, the son of a bitch.
Oh, thank you for taking it back, ma'am. I'm out of bumper stickers.
Man, fuck you.
Well, that's not nice.
Fuck you.
Oh, ma'am.
And so I think it's so amazing to me how people will put so much more effort into arguing and fighting with this guy than just taking the cart back. And it's because their pride knows that the point he was making is correct. And so, like, just like I was at the masjid today and someone was careless enough to block another person in, we as Muslims have to live up to the values of Islam. And then also, you've probably seen in social media before this whole idea of the African American woman who's taking her pit bull out on a walk, and she's using it as a metaphor for raising black children in the United States. And she's like, "You are a pit bull." That means everyone's afraid of you. Everyone's going to be looking at how you behave. You have to be the sweetest, most respectful, well-trained dog in the world just to not be put down or compensated or, have animal services called on you. And this idea of being a Muslim, like, we may not like or feel that it's just that we have this extra pressure on us, this anti-Muslim bigotry. But do we want to live in the really real world, or do we want to live in fantasy land? I mean, things shouldn't be that way for sure, but they are that way. And we actually, as Muslims, have a responsibility to carry the message of Islam to our neighbors, to the community at large. So we should be the ones, if we truly follow the example of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that, it's said in our faith tradition that he came to perfect our character, to make us the best of people morally. So whether we're cutting people off, driving in the emergency lane, or we see a road closure sign and then we stay till the very last second because we think everybody we're passing is just a sucker and our time is more valuable than theirs, or we're leaving the cart out in the parking lot, or we're double parking or parking on, a non-Muslim neighbor to the mosque's property and annoying them. All of those are things that reflect how lazy we've gotten with, number one, being an American, treating other Americans with respect, and then number two, having the additional responsibility of identifying as a Muslim. Now, me, definitely white presenting, my friends do call me the day walker, so maybe I get away with it more than others, but I also feel like because of that, I have an extra duty to make sure people know I'm Muslim and to be as kind as possible. And I'm going to close out on this thought here. I want you guys to remember, kind words and acts of kindness really don't cost you anything. So when you get good service, give people a compliment. When you see somebody doing something wrong, you don't have to be Mr. Cartnark and, be that confrontational. But just at least, if nothing else, make sure you're doing your part. Make sure that your friends and family know how to be the best neighbor, the best person in public. And, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to smile, and smiling is an act of charity. So may we be charitable in our actions and with our finances and help be people of justice. A lot more to come now that I'm, really knee deep in my midlife crisis. I'm going to be producing a lot more content. So as always, God bless you and yours. And I hope you have a fantastic week or weekend ahead, depending on when you watch this. Take care.
Issa. Okay. Issa? Yes. Issa Galloway.
Issa Galloway.
Issa Galloway.
Issa Galloway.
Issa Galloway, convert to Islam, defines the mission.
Kind of a show that will put people on the edge of their seat.
Because it leads to the future, and a more sophisticated approach.